The transfer portal is closing. Actually, it has closed at this point. You could still see a few more guys jump into the portal because they just had to submit their requests by Friday night at midnight, and teams or programs have 48 hours to submit those requests. So you could still see some players enter the portal by Sunday night, but there would probably be some rumors and probably be some talk about them going into the portal. So the way it looks right now, there are guys in the portal, but there are also teams that still have needs. And right now, there are Big Ten teams that still have needs. I mean, this is like your last minute shopping. I remember one time I went to Kroger because I needed contact solution, and I got there 5 minutes before. 5 minutes before Kroger was closing, and I was running inside and saying, "Don't close the door yet. Don't close the door." That's what these Big Ten teams are doing here. They're saying, "Don't close the door yet. Don't close the door." Obviously, what is there at the portal is there. The products that are going to happen are there, but there are Big Ten teams that are going after some of these players to possibly get them on their team for next season. And one of those players is Jordan Seaton. Jordan Seaton, the offensive tackle for Colorado, left tackle these past 2 years. He's from Washington, D.C. He's going to be a junior next year, number 5 player in the On3 industry transfer portal rankings. He started 9 games this season, only allowed 2 sacks and over 300 pass blocking snaps, and he actually had the highest pass blocking grade among all Big 12 tackles, and he was 12th in all of the Power 4. Really good tackle. And Jordan Seaton, I mean, is he, life-changing type of guy? No, but he's going to be drafted highly, and he's got all the traits and everything that you want. And he's done well at Colorado. Like I said, only allowed 2 sacks last season. I believe both of those were in one game too. So only one game he actually allowed a sack, 2 sacks in that game. But Jordan Seaton has done a good job at Colorado, and he's looking to go someplace where he's going to get some more NIL money. That's very evident. He's starting the bidding at like $2.5 million is apparently what the rumor is being spread around right there. And he also wants to enhance his NFL draft exposure with a more major program like a Texas or like an Oregon. And those are the 2 teams that are being talked about right now the most. Now, he did take a visit to Mississippi State. Don't think that's where he's going to go, but that's kind of where he got his visit started. And then Miami is apparently another place he's going to be going to visit this weekend. Makes sense. They're in the national championship. Go visit them. And really, honestly, it doesn't get much bigger of a stage than the national championship in college football. So you could really help out yourself if Miami does that again next year. And Oregon and Texas are also working to set up some visits. But another team that is working to set up a visit that not everybody is talking about is Maryland. Maryland is, in fact, trying to get Jordan Seaton on campus. Maryland was a player in the Jordan Seaton sweepstakes out of high school with him being from the D.C. area there, and Maryland wants to be a part of this again. Is Maryland going to come out with the, $3.5 million NIL offer? Probably not, but they could come at him and say, look, this is a place where you can be the star player. You're going to play in big games. You're going to play against, top tier teams that are going to have top tier talent that the NFL draft scouts are going to be at. And this could be a place where you can make that happen. Doesn't really seem to go with what he wants, but maybe he wants to go back home. Maybe Jordan Seaton wants to play back home. He's been tired of going out to Colorado, and maybe that'll happen. We'll see. The second player that a Big Ten team might go after or is targeting in the transfer portal is Tennessee's linebacker Arion Carter, who just entered the transfer portal after going back on his decision to enter into the NFL draft. Apparently, the kind of story here is the senior next year apparently was not satisfied with where he might go in the NFL draft, and so he wants to come back for another year and try to get, improve his draft stock, which he does need to do. He did not have a great season last year. 76 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. He was 51st in PFF defensive grade among SEC linebackers. Not all linebackers nationally. SEC linebackers, he was 51st in PFF defensive grade, and he was the lowest PFF defensive grade of the starters on the Tennessee linebacker unit. So not a great year for him. He wants to come back. He wants to improve his draft stock. He did say that he would love to play in the SEC, but he is willing to go anywhere. The two teams that have been dubbed as teams to watch in this situation are Alabama and Texas A&M, but a Big Ten team that does need some linebacker help after losing Jimmy Rolder to the draft and Cole Sullivan in the portal to Oklahoma is Michigan. I would not be surprised to see Michigan go after Carter here in this situation at all. Michigan's already been trying to go after a few linebackers behind the scenes. Going to talk about that in the next segment, but Michigan does need help here, and I would not be surprised to see them go after him, especially with the new coaching staff there, the defensive staff that could definitely talk him into, hey, we're going to put you in good situations and you're going to get noticed for the draft. All right. Next one, number 3 is Mason Clint. I've been forgetting to change there we go. I had that one. There we go. I forget to change the thing. How dare I? Southern Miss defensive lineman Mason Clint, who is being targeted by Oregon. Now, he is from Mississippi. He's done his time in community college. He's done his time at Southern Miss, kind of hopped around a bunch of different places. He's actually outside the top 2,000 nationally in transfer portal rankings. He's going to be a senior next year. Only 16 tackles, 1 pass deflection, a 58.5 PFF defensive grade, which is not exactly great. That's even lower than what Carter's was. But he wants to continue to move up. He wants to try and be a depth piece at a program. And that's exactly what Oregon needs right now. Is Oregon needs some depth pieces on that defensive line. They've brought back all the starters on their defensive line, which is fantastic, but they're also losing all their depth pieces because these are guys that thought, hey, next year I will become the starter. And with Bear Alexander, Amari Washington coming back, that doesn't look to be the case. So do I see Mason Clint being the kind of guy that's going to come in and play 10, 15, 20 snaps for Oregon? No, I think he's probably going to be a depth piece if he does come. That's maybe 1 to 5 snaps a game, but that's still somebody that you need. And those are still snaps that you don't have to put Bear Alexander and Amari Washington out there for. So Oregon's also looking at a couple other guys too. It's not just him. Mississippi State, Terrence Hibbler Jr. they're going after, and then a guy from Jacksonville State, Daryl Prater, they're going after as well. All right, next one here is the Nebraska transfer on the defensive line, Keona Davis, who is currently being targeted by Illinois. Now, Davis from Arizona down there. He's a defensive lineman, going to be a junior next year. He's outside the top 700 in the transfer portal, but he is definitely a guy with some size who can definitely come in and start for a team like Illinois, who is looking for some more defensive line help right now. He had 32 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss last season, 1.5 sacks, 10 QB pressures as well. And he looks like somebody who could do a good job for Illinois or whatever team might try to pick him up. Davis said there's a rumor out there. He didn't say this. Davis, there's a rumor that he was going to enter into the transfer portal last year when Nebraska went through some of their coaching changes, but he decided to stick it out and come back because he saw the opportunity for an elevated role this year. Things obviously don't work out all that well with John Butler as the defensive coordinator, and Davis has decided that he's had enough and he wants to go into the portal, maybe go to a better defensive situation, maybe get into a better opportunity for himself. And so right now he is currently visiting Miami. Similar situation here with Jordan Seaton. I mean, when you watch this Miami team and kind of what they've become, they've already taken 1 transfer defensive lineman and Jarquez Carter, but I find it hard to believe that he's not going to come off this visit to Miami, especially around the national championship and everything, and not commit to them. Now, if he does not commit right away, by all means, I think Illinois has a good shot here, especially if they can get him on campus. But right now, there's no prediction for Davis or anything. And Illinois might have a shot here. We'll see. Maybe sometimes these predictions don't always come out until a little bit later on, but could be a situation here for Illinois. But I know that is definitely somebody they're going to want to look at and try to get as the portal has closed, and they are in need of a lot of defensive line help right now. And Davis would certainly be a big piece to help with that. Finally, we talked about him before. Going to bring him up once again. Makhi Frazier, the Michigan State tailback, who I predicted to go to Indiana, and that prediction is looking pretty good right now. Steve Wiltfong agreed with me one of his articles on 3. I say agreed with me like he referenced me or something. He didn't reference me. We're just in lockstep right now. Looking like Makhi Frazier is going to be the guy there at Indiana, number 113 player in the transfer portal, number 9 running back. And it sounds like Indiana may have slow played this a little bit with Frazier, may have, kind of tried to do their due diligence a little bit with maybe some other running backs. And then now sounds like they're coming back to Frazier and saying, hey, we do want you in our number 1 transfer portal class in college football. And it looks like Frazier wants to be there as well. He had spent some time with Ohio State a little bit, but Ohio State took Jacoby Johnson. And so looks like Makhi Frazier has kind of become the guy that Indiana wants to take. And I think it would be a nice ad for Indiana. He had a little bit of inconsistent pass blocking and some inconsistent play at Michigan State. He struggled with an injury there at one point. But I think a lot of that was just the offensive line. I cannot tell you how many times I watched Michigan State last year and just saw that atrocious offensive line play and thought to myself, how is this? How did anybody assemble these group of guys and think this was Big Ten level offense? It wasn't, quite frankly, it wasn't. And it was honestly sad to watch a lot of the time. It's kind of amazing that they gave Iowa as good of a game as they did with that. But, that's how it goes. And we'll see if Michigan State can help correct that offensive line this season, especially if they have somebody like Makhi Frazier coming back. So please do like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Comment down below your thoughts on these 5 guys. You think these 5 guys are going to any of these Big Ten programs? And if you are somebody that you still want your team to go after some people. I know Ohio State fans still want some offensive linemen and stuff like that. If you have somebody else that you want your team to go after, would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below.